He looked at me across the dinner table and said, "Well, who knows if that baby's even mine?" The whole table laughed. I didn't. I simply put my fork down, stood up and said, "You're right. This child doesn't deserve a father like you." My name is Eva. 6 years of marriage, 2 miscarriages, and finally, 1 miracle. But instead of love, I got humiliation. And a lesson I'll never forget. When someone stops loving you, they'll turn your pain into entertainment. I'm 32, living in a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon. For years, I believed Ethan and I had the kind of love that could survive anything. We met young, when life still felt like a promise. But love isn't a promise, it's a choice. And somewhere along the way, Ethan stopped choosing me. We lost 2 pregnancies. The first time, he held my hand and whispered, "It'll be okay." The second time, he didn't say anything at all. He just stepped outside, lit a cigarette, and stared into the rain. The sound of the lighter clicking open felt like something inside me closing for good. Still, I told myself that if we were ever lucky enough to get another chance, it would heal everything. Last March, I stared down at 2 pink lines. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the test. I took 4 more just to be sure, then went for a blood test. Positive. I stayed up all night imagining how I'd tell him, how his eyes would light up, how he'd hold me, maybe even cry a little. But when I told him, Ethan just stared, nodded, and said quietly, "I need time to process." No hug. No smile, not even a touch. He sat back on the couch and started scrolling through his phone again. The blue light from the screen flickered over his face, cold, distant, like I was talking to a stranger through glass. That's when I felt it. Something in him had changed, and maybe it had been gone for a while. I tried to explain it away. Maybe he was in shock. Maybe men don't feel attached to a baby until it's real. Maybe time would fix this. But weeks passed and his silence grew heavier. He never asked about appointments, never touched my stomach, never asked how I was feeling. When I sent him the first ultrasound photo, he looked at it for 2 seconds, said cool, and turned off his phone. I asked if he wanted to shop for baby stuff together. He said, "Maybe later." That phrase, "maybe later," became the only thing he ever said to me. At night, I'd lie awake listening to the sound of him typing on his keyboard in the other room. Each keystroke sounded like a nail being driven into something that used to hold us together. Once I asked, "Do you still even want this baby?" He didn't turn around. "I don't know what you want me to say," he muttered, then walked out. No anger, no emotion, it's just distance. My mom told me, "Men don't always know how to show excitement, honey. Wait until the baby's here." My best friend Maya said, "Maybe he's scared. Maybe he doesn't think he'll be a good father." Everyone had reasons for him, and I believed them because believing hurt less than admitting I was alone. I smiled more, talked less, tried to be easy to love again. But love can't survive when only one person is still fighting for it. Some nights I'd sit at the kitchen table, the only light coming from the stove hood, staring at the untouched plate he'd left behind. The house was quiet, too quiet. I realized then that absence doesn't always make noise. Sometimes it just fills a room like smoke. Some marriages don't end with shouting or infidelity. They end quietly, the moment one person decides they no longer need to be understood. And when I looked into Ethan's eyes one morning and saw nothing but polite indifference, I knew whatever storm was coming, it wouldn't roar. It would whisper. That storm hit on a Thursday evening, the night Samantha, Ethan's sister, invited us to dinner at her house. A family dinner, she called it, which in their world meant forced smiles and passive-aggressive comments wrapped in politeness. It took me nearly an hour to get ready. At 6 months pregnant, nothing fit right, but I wanted to look presentable. I curled my hair, put on lipstick, told myself he'd notice me again, the woman carrying his child. We drove in silence, rain tapping softly against the windshield. I asked if he was nervous. "About what?" he replied. Then nothing. The wipers kept time with my heartbeat. Samantha opened the door, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Well, would you look at that belly?" she said, eyes raking over me. "I was starting to think you were faking it." Everyone laughed. I laughed too, out of reflex. Ethan didn't. He just shoved his hands in his pockets and looked away. We sat down. His mother, Linda, was there, She rarely came to these things, but apparently tonight was special. She smiled stiffly, asked a few questions, then fell silent. I tried to join in the conversation, talking about baby kicks and nursery plans. No one seemed to care. They talked about vacation plans, Samantha's new house, a trendy restaurant downtown. I smiled, nodded, placed my hand over my stomach. Every word made me feel smaller, like I was fading out of the frame. Then Samantha looked up from her wine glass. "Guess you won't be joining us next summer, huh?" "Long flights aren't great for pregnant women," Ethan chuckled, eyes still on his plate. "Yeah, or maybe there won't even be a trip if things don't work out." Laughter again. My pulse spiked. I waited for him to look up, to say he was joking. He didn't. And then came the moment that split my life in two. We were talking about baby names. Or rather, I was. I said softly, "I was thinking of the name Grace." Samantha smirked. "Grace sounds like a stripper's name." Everyone burst out laughing. I turned to Ethan. His mouth twitched, not in anger, but amusement. Then he said it, the sentence I will never forget. "Let's not decide names yet. Who knows if it's even mine?" The room froze. Forks stopped. Linda's face went pale. I couldn't breathe. That one line sliced through me cleaner than any scream could. "And worst of all," he said it calmly. Like it was funny. Like I wasn't sitting right there. I looked around. No one spoke. No one defended me. Samantha let out a short laugh. "God, Ethan, you're such an ass." But she was still smiling. I placed my fork down. My hand was shaking, but my voice wasn't. "You're right," I said, standing up. "This baby doesn't deserve a father like you." No one stopped me. No one said a word. I walked out, the sound of chairs scraping faintly behind me. Outside, the rain had turned to a downpour. Each drop felt cold but strangely cleansing as I walked to the car. I drove through the wet streets without crying. Sometimes clarity doesn't come with tears. It comes with silence, the kind that burns all the way down but leaves you standing taller. 3 weeks later, Ethan texted, "You overreacted." I was just joking, trying to lighten the mood. I deleted it. Then his mother wrote, "Sweetheart, families argue. Don't throw away your marriage over one dinner." I blocked her number. I packed what I could fit into 2 suitcases and moved in with my cousin Lauren. Her apartment was small, walls painted a soft gray, the balcony filled with plants. Every morning I brewed tea, watched the mist roll over the city, and felt my heart stitching itself back together, slowly but surely. I stopped counting the days since he'd said those words. I started counting baby kicks instead, tiny, steady reminders that life goes on, even after love ends. And in that quiet apartment, surrounded by the sound of rain, I finally realized that losing someone's love isn't the worst thing that can happen. Losing yourself trying to keep it is. I left without a word. No text, no explanation. It took Ethan exactly 10 days to realize what silence really sounded like. In those 10 days, I moved into Lauren's tiny apartment. We slept on a mattress on the floor, boxes for nightstands, a single electric kettle. The air smelled faintly of mint from the candle I lit each night. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. No dreams, no panic. Just my own breathing and the soft rhythm of a heartbeat inside me. On the 11th morning, a box appeared at my door. A pink baby outfit, tag still on, receipt folded neatly inside. No note, but I knew it was him. I dropped it straight into the trash. The next day, there was a piece of paper taped to the door. "I miss you. Can we talk?" Still unsigned. I said nothing. My silence unsettled him. He was a man who'd always controlled the narrative, and now the story was writing itself without him. When the 3rd package arrived, a brand new baby crib still in the box, I decided it was time to take back the last piece of power he thought he had. I called my mother's friend, an attorney. We sat together for 2 hours going over custody rights, birth certificates, legal protections. Each signature felt like a thread snapping cleanly between us. That afternoon, Ethan showed up. I was carrying out the trash when I saw him standing by the mailboxes, holding a paper bag with a stuffed animal inside. His face was drawn, eyes hollow. "I just wanted to drop this off," he said, voice low. "And maybe talk for a minute." "No," I said. 5 minutes, Ava, that's all." "No," he stepped closer. "You're overreacting. I just want to fix this." I met his eyes. The hallway light cut across his face, and for the first time, I didn't see the man I loved. I saw someone terrified of losing control. You don't get to fix what you deliberately broke, I said. He swallowed hard. I was scared. I didn't know how to handle it. Scared of what? Being a father? Or not being the hero anymore? He said nothing. When you humiliated me in front of your family, you weren't scared, I added, then tossed the bag into the trash bin beside us. The soft thud echoed down the hall. You don't get to rewrite this story. He looked stunned, voice cracking. I told my mom we were working things out. She wants to see the baby when she's born. Then you'd better tell her you lied, I replied calmly. If either of you comes near me or my child again, I'll call the police. My lawyer's already aware. I turned away. Behind me, he just stood there, small and silent in the fluorescent light. That night, I loaded the crib into my car and drove it to Linda's house. She opened the door, surprise flickering across her face. Eva, you look well, she said carefully. I pushed the box toward her. Returning this, along with the lie your son told you, her brow furrowed. We're not reconciling, I continued. And if anyone from this family tries to contact me or my child again, it'll count as harassment. She opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off. I'm not the quiet woman from that dinner anymore. Then I walked away. Stepping into the cold night air, I felt my pulse steady. For the first time in years, the protection I'd been waiting for wasn't coming from anyone else. It was mine. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the most elegant form of revenge, because nothing terrifies a manipulator more than losing the audience for his performance. 2 years later, Portland winters still arrive early, gray and wet. I live in a small apartment with white walls and lavender on the balcony. My daughter Lily is learning to talk. Every morning she points at the window and says, "Mommy, rain." I laugh, make coffee, play soft jazz, and let gratitude settle where pain used to live. Motherhood alone is harder than I imagined. I've done every feeding, every fever, every sleepless night. Some days exhaustion feels like a second skin. But when Lily laughs, the noise fills every empty corner left in me. A friend once asked, "Don't you hate him?" I said no, hatred keeps them alive inside you. I'd already buried him in silence. One afternoon, there was a knock on my door. Ethan stood there clutching a gift bag. I didn't move. He looked at Lily playing on the rug and whispered, "She looks like me." "No," I said softly. "She looks like the person who's been raising her." He swallowed. Can I just look at her for a minute?" I stepped aside. He didn't come in. He just watched from the doorway. Lily glanced up, curious, then went back to her toys. The room was full of light, and for a moment I saw him realize he no longer belonged in it. "I was wrong," he said finally. "I can't say sorry enough, but if there's anything I can do—" "Don't," I cut him off. "Just live better. Don't make another woman feel invisible." Then I closed the door. Not angry, not trembling. Just done. I stood there for a while, listening to the silence on the other side. Then Lily crawled over, tugged my hand, and giggled. "Mommy?" I lifted her up, pressed my cheek against hers. Outside, rain streaked the glass, but it didn't feel cold anymore. I thought back to that dinner years ago, the scraping of chairs, the heavy silence, the tears I never let fall. All of it felt distant now, like the echo of someone else's life. People think revenge means making the one who hurt you suffer. But real revenge is peace, living a life they no longer have the privilege to witness. I kissed Lily's forehead. "That's rain, sweetheart," I whispered. "But it always stops eventually." She laughed, tiny palms patting my face. In that golden, fading light, I understood what freedom really sounded like. Sometimes courage isn't leaving in tears. It's daring to be happy after you do. Because peace, too, is a form of justice.